Okay, so. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the St. John Plan Commission for July 5th. If we could rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a roll call, please.
Robert Burleson.
Here.
Yolanda Cardona is not here. John Gill is not here. Joe Gomez-Stagel.
Here.
Bob Valois is not here. Jenna Lordson, present. John Kennedy.
Here.
Attorney Adam Decker.
Here.
Engineer John Dykstra.
Here.
Councilman Liaison Brian Blazak is not here. And Town Manager Joe Wazawadi is also not here.
We do have a quorum just for the benefit of the dais. If anything passes or doesn't pass, it has to be unanimous.
Okay.
All four of us. All right. Next on the agenda, we have minutes. Sorry, Jason. Next on the agenda, we have minutes for June 7th, 2023 Plan Commission. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve June 7th, 2023 Plan Commission regular meeting minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Meetings pass. Next, we have the June 21st, 2023 Plan Commission Study Session minutes. Comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve June 21st, 2023 study session minutes.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I got a second by Joe. Question, I was not here. I did review the YouTube. The minutes seem to be accurate. Anyone, I mean, you guys are good with those minutes?
Yes.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries for all. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing for West 93rd Avenue and US Highway 41. This is a proposed site plan and site walk waiver from St. John Municipal Code 21A-33D-2 to install 6-foot wide sidewalks instead of 8 feet wide sidewalks along the southwest corner of 93rd Avenue and US 41 zoned R2. And I think we have a representative here from First Group. If you would, name and organization for the record.
Evan Lavalette, First Group Engineering. The town hired us for the design on this project.
Right, and if you would, just give us, I know you did 2 study sessions,
Not a problem.
but this is for the general public. It is a public hearing, so if you could just give us an overview of your request and the reason why, the hardship for that request.
Not a problem. So this project is along 93rd here in front of Town Hall to approximately 1,000 foot west of US 41. Due to right-of-way concerns as well as the added costs from going down the path of right-of-way purchases on this project, we are proposing to only install a 6-foot wide sidewalk along most of the project limits where we're doing reconstruction along the sidewalk. There is a small portion of 5 foot, a little bit longer on that south portion there where the cursor's at, and that's simply that's where we're going off the back of curb. So most of the project, we're installing a 6-foot sidewalk along the back side of the curb, and then once we can start to provide a parkway, we start to deviate back towards that 5 foot to match in what's heading west towards the park.
And just for the public understanding, can you explain the project parameters? What are you doing on that roadway?
It's primarily an intersection improvement project at US 41 and 93rd, as well as a smaller improvement at Kyleman and 93rd. We're adding a dual left lane as well as a right lane heading eastbound. Westbound on the east side of the intersection, we're adding a dedicated right turn in there as well. And at Kyleman, we're providing north-left and a north-right off of Kyleman. And then going west on 93rd, heading onto Kyleman, we're also going to be providing a left turn lane there as well.
So this project is currently within existing right-of-way.
Except there was one piece of right-of-way on this project, and that was along the church parcel, which was a donation by the church.
And then if you would have had to take 2 extra feet, you would have been buying people's front yards.
Correct, and that is a true statement along that red line and that purple. The purple line, we're not, again, the right-of-way is not as tied in there, but for consistency purposes, you would have been buying right-of-way from every property along the reconstruction in this project.
You know, sometimes it's a quality of life issue. The roads, you know, it's tight there, and all of a sudden you're gonna start taking 2 to 3 feet of people's property, which is already tight there in the first place, so.
Yeah, there's, especially on the north side by Patterson there, there's, the corner house is already extremely close. We would be almost, you know, based on where the NIPSCO power poles are at, and we're no longer online. Based on where the power poles, and should I go on? Is it still? Okay.
Go ahead until Jason.
Okay. So based on just those 3 houses alone, the right-of-way costs would have started to escalate. NIPSCO took a really hard stance on this one. They're not going to move that pole line without proper right-of-way on their part, and that involves the new aerial encroachments that they're now dealing with. So it wasn't just taking an extra 2 or 3 foot in right-of-way. We really truly, on that north side, maybe 5, even 10 feet, to truly provide those aerial encroachments that NIPSCO is looking to get away with, or looking to get away from on design projects these days.
All right, any questions or comments?
None at all.
All right, hearing none, I'll have you sit down. I'm going to open it up for public hearing. At this time, the public hearing is now open for West 93rd Avenue and US 41. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak regarding the waiver request? Second time, requesting if anybody would like to speak. Jenna, are you aware of any public comment received via electronically or remonstration?
No.
This is the third and final time, public hearing. Going. Public comment is now closed. Is there any additional questions for first group? If not, I will entertain a motion. And just for discussion purposes, this board has been very hard line with their stance on waivers for sidewalks. Mostly putting them in. In this situation, you know, I looked at it, I've driven that site multiple times. You know, cost, that's, you know, I don't think that's a hardship, but this is a mature neighborhood that's been here for a very long time. You're looking at taking additional 2 to 3 feet of people's property off a very large, and any buffer is better. So that is my position. Why it would be great to have wider sidewalks there. If it was a new subdivision or a new area that didn't have all these long-term residents, it might be a different story.
Mr. Chairman, too, I would add that under the subdivision control ordinance, Plan Commission can grant waivers from the standards. It should make findings that, one, the granting of the waiver will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to other property improvements. Two, the conditions upon which the request for a waiver is based are unique to the property for which the waiver is sought, and not generally applicable to other property. And three, because of the particular physical surroundings, shape, or topographical conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship to the owner would result if the strict letter of the regulations were carried out.
So just for the board members, when making a recommendation, please reference a finding of facts, which will go towards, Thank you, Jenna. Whoever would like to make a motion, I do have the findings of facts if they would want to read that.
Make a motion to approve proposed site plan and sidewalk waiver from St. John Municipal Code 21A-33 D2 to install 6-foot wide sidewalks instead of 8-foot wide along southwest corner of 93rd and US Highway 41. And the findings of facts are, number one, that the granting of the waivers will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, or welfare, or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood in which the property is located. Number 2, that the conditions upon which the request for a waiver is based are unique to the property for which the waiver is sought and are not applicable generally to other property. And number 3, that because of the particular physical surroundings, shape, or topographical conditions of the specific property involved, a particular hardship to the owner would result as distinguished from a mere inconvenience if the strict letter of the subdivision control ordinance is carried out.
I have a motion to approve referencing finding of facts. Is there a second?
I second that.
Got a second by Joe Gomestego. Questions, comments, further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0. At this time, I'm going to step down from the dais and turn the meeting over to Vice President Bob Brilson due to a conflict.
Thank you.
Yep. The next item on the list, B, public hearing, Park Impact Fee Zone Improvement Plan and Park Impact Fee Ordinance. Proposed amendment to the comprehensive plan to incorporate a Park Impact Fee Zone Improvement Plan and recommendation for adoption of the updated Park Impact Fee Ordinance. Good evening.
Good evening. How was everyone?
Good. How are you?
Good. My name is Matthew O'Rourke. I'm the Planning and Economic Development Group Leader with American Structure Point. Do you need my address
Sure, go
for the
on.
record? It's 9025 River Road, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46240.
Okay, thanks. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's see, we got the presentation up there. Also joining me virtually is David Baird, if we're back online. Yes. I'm assuming we are. Okay. Hopefully he was able to get back in. He's also another one of our senior planners working on this project, and also our internal lawyer who helps us make sure we're in conjunction with state statutes and all those things. And the reason we're here tonight is the town of St. John's has had a park impact fee in place for approximately 15 years now. State statutes requires you to redo the impact zone plan that we're talking about this evening every 5 years to kind of restate it and reevaluate the needs and assess what that appropriate fee should be. So we're getting to the end of that as the town of St. John, and so we're here tonight to present, essentially host a public hearing and look at recommendations for that zone impact fee. And the way the state statute reads, it basically says that this is an amendment, like kind of a sub-area plan, if you will, to the comprehensive plan. That's how it looks at as a state law. So we're here we've submitted that to the town, our findings. We've been working on that for the last several months. We're here to kind of give you the high-level presentation. And I always like to say, if at any point in time you want me to stop, answer any questions, feel free to interrupt my flow. There's no need to go through this one at a time. So with that, unless there's any questions, I'll get running and kick it off and get going on it. I hope. There we go. So what is an impact fee? It's a one-time charge. It's basically placed on the time of building permit issuance. So in the state of Indiana, how this works is whenever there's a new residential permit charged, you're allowed to approve an impact fee, and you can do other ones besides parks. That essentially says for every new residential unit, this fee will be charged just the one time. So I just want to make sure that's clear. It's not a revolving fee. It doesn't come back. No existing residents that are in an existing home would ever pay it. It's only issued, or you only pay it once at the time of permit issuance. So once the home's built, it's never paid again. So it's really an impact fee to help cover the cost of new new developments that are coming through the system. And it's a way to assure that the town has a way to deliver enough park amenities in this case to the town to make sure that it can compete with and adapt to increased growth pressure. And St. John's has certainly been growing a lot in the last 5 years. How that impact fee is calculated, I apologize, this seems off. Sorry. So how that is when we look at the state statute, we look at the existing level of service, we go through it and kind of compare that to what we are projecting to be the future level of service. and the significant, basically the procedure of the law, the number crunching happens, then we come up with a new park impact fee for the next 5 years. The in-person presentation, so here we are this evening presenting this. We worked with the impact fee committee before this meeting. Now here presenting it as a public hearing to this group as the Plan Commission at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. So the key deliverables on this project, the process we've gone through thus far, we've gone through and done an existing facilities inventory. Very similar when you update your Parks and Rec master plan for the 5-year period. Thankfully, in this case, staff has kept in very great records of what's out there. So we basically went to all the parks in the community, verified what we saw. We have some folks that specialize in ADA, accessibility, those things, and I'll talk about it on the next slide, but kind of confirm what was out there, added anything we saw, and then came up with the zone improvement plan, which is what we're talking about this evening. As we move forward, the impact fee ordinance, it provides funding mechanism for new parks, recreation areas. We talked about that a little bit on the previous slides. And it's necessary for rapid growth in the town, especially ones that are experiencing as much growth as St. John's is. This is really the first step in completing and creating an updated Parks Master Plan. And we say that to say when we started working on this project, we realized how much overlap there was between those two planning documents. And so we did the inventory and the needs assessment almost the same way you would do those plans. So that way the Parks Department just has that ready and teed up to go, because that document will be coming up on its 5-year kind of deadline too to be renewed. Existing facilities analysis, just a review. These are all the parks here listed. We went through, inventoried everything we saw out there in addition to what staff had already given us. Our work included a careful review of Americans with Disabilities Act. We actually have someone on staff who is kind of subject to these items. She has some mobility issues and become somewhat of an expert on it, so we rely on her to tell us what those items are and add them into there. We inventory all the important aspects to explain what the assessment is necessary, and then we will also work with and also help to aid in the development of the new Parks Master Plan. I kind of mentioned all that. Another thing we looked at is existing trails. Want to make sure those are incorporated in here. It seems that the town of St. John's really the big regional trails are provided by other entities. So a lot of the trails we documented that are responsibility of the Parks Department and the town are really kind of internal ones, the perimeter walking trails, things of that nature. But certainly want to account for that in what we're doing here. Another thing we looked at was the future land use map. This, as we look at our land use planning effort, and certainly have seen all the growth the last 5 years, we wanted to make sure we were looking at how this projected out. And this is the future land use map from the comprehensive plan on the slide shown, and it does show significant amount more of growth coming into the southern part of there and kind of the western part where I know some permits are going. I'd highlight it on the TV over here, but I found out earlier the laser pointer doesn't work on it, so that's no fun for me. But these are all things that we were accounting for as we were going through the plan and effort. One other thing that is part of this zone impact fee is the Parks Department, in conjunction with the town, are contemplating a new rec center, an indoor enclosed rec center. Our firm was hired with a partner to go out and do a very high-level needs assessment. The results of that were just, should be on. The results of that were essentially how big of a facility was needed in terms of square footage, what kind of facilities we'd want to see in there, and it turned out to be basketball courts, volleyball courts, pretty much anything inside you could do that the community doesn't have. And that was very important for the zone impact fee, because when we went through the needs assessment and we looked at other communities of similar population sizes, pretty much all of them have that kind of facility once you get to this kind of population where St. John's is getting. So a big part of this was incorporating that to make sure that you're providing for the new residents as they come, and really providing that level of service, I think, that the citizens of St. John's have gotten used to. This is a diagram put together by our architects. I won't sit here and say that I'm an architect and I can interpret that 100%, but basically what that's trying to show is different uses within the building. The kind of manila color is the basketball multi-use courts, but also would incorporate indoor meeting rooms, shared meeting facilities, places to host euchre tournaments, those sorts of things, or other indoor events, and even be able to use it for trade shows and other things, potentially to rent out the facility. So that's kind of what that diagram is showing, is some space for that. What it boiled down to was essentially approximately 50,000 square foot facility. Something else we built into the analysis for that community assessor was whether it should be on a greenfield site or a site owned by an existing park site, essentially. I think the preference would be to find a footprint that works on an existing site. The reason why is land costs are becoming prohibitive. You could see some farmland being sold for 40, 50,000 an acre now. So what this analysis shows is the rationale behind that is you start adding, you want to add maybe some outdoor field spaces for lacrosse or soccer, those things. There's a couple of acres, you add in another couple acres for parking, the building, you get to about a 7 or 8 acre site. So part of that analysis really revealed, hey, in this community center, what we'd like to see is it built on existing sites so you don't have to account for some of those things, or at least can share some facilities and reduce the cost. So that was all kind of baked into that analysis.
As I see it looks like it's youth orientated. Is there senior citizen use for that? And I guess the next question would be, what would their needs be, senior citizens, for a facility like that?
Yeah, no, great question. I think the assessment was basically looked at what was lacking in the surrounding area by other indoor facilities. These are the ones that boiled up to the surface. The indoor courts weren't necessarily divvied into youth versus senior and or adult leagues. They're basically, the demand came out to the end to say, you kind of need them all. And so they would be designed as multi-purpose courts. As far as needs for seniors, I think that's where a lot of the meeting space kind of efforts came from. The meeting before this they said that folks don't have a place for HOA to meet and host their meetings. So it's being designed with that in mind to be kind of flexible for all those indoor
Or maybe
spaces.
just a gathering place for seniors, maybe not necessarily meetings, but just a gathering place.
Yeah, I think there'll be larger meeting rooms. At least that's
Yeah.
what came out of the needs assessment. I should be very clear here and say, like, we are not designing the facility yet. Really, it's the needs was just what is needed in the
Yeah.
community.
So you did send out a questionnaire saying, citizens, senior citizens, this is what we're planning, and that's how your needs assessment came out?
Yeah,
with those
it was more of
results?
they looked at the data just to see what was not in the area, and then through some data sources that you pay for, kind of talk about what kind of spending is prevalent in the area and where people are bringing their kids and where seniors are doing those activities. We're planning on it because it was really, we just want to get it to a size and a cost. It wasn't so much about really going through a whole motion of all that. The needs assessment was very high level. But the town is due to update its Parks and Rec plan. And one of the things we've talked to staff already about and recommended is when you do that, you do a lot of public involvement. That's a big part of that process, is having questions in the online surveys and the public meetings, specifically asking about what would you like to see in an indoor space like this. So I think that's all forthcoming, if that helps answer your question.
Yeah, a little bit, because
Yeah.
I have a tendency to think some developers are constantly saying, well, people don't want to cut grass, they want smaller lots and so forth. That basically has unintended consequences, that you have more kids and more people.
Sure.
And the parks, the needs for those things are needed. Then you have also, through the census, the population of senior citizens in this area versus their movement. I don't think too many are moving out.
Yep.
So that's why I think I support his
Yeah.
view.
No, and when I say meetings, I'm not saying a structured meeting where
Yeah,
with
no,
a gavel. I'm saying, Tom, Joe, and Frank, they want to sit down and have a cup of coffee and
Sure.
chit chat about their grandkids.
Yeah.
I don't know what other needs they have. A lot of seniors or some senior citizens meet at McDonald's, and they.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and a lot of facilities around the state, they have certain times or, time slots available every week for those types of activities for people to just come in and use them.
Okay.
Usually provide coffee and things like that. But I think those are the kind of things when you do that Park and Rec master plan update you could really kind of suss out and dig
Okay.
into. But yeah, all those types of things are being thought of in that space needs analysis. And it's kind of what this slide here shows, is what the needs are in terms of programming for the community and sports, but also the non-sports events, community events, corporate events, potentially renting it out for trade shows. And I think shared meeting space is all baked into that
Okay.
part of it.
Very good.
Yep. So in summary, I'm sorry, there are slides missing from this. I'm not sure what happened there. Would it be possible to go back to the other presentation that we had for the other committee? Something got wonky in this, maybe with the storm or. skip ahead a little bit. Did that. Okay, yeah, that's the slide I was looking for. Another thing we looked at as part of this is just the overall park coverage in St. John's. What this map needs, it just shows the needs, kind of the service areas of the existing parks. The greenish yellow circles are smaller parks, so they have a smaller service area, typically a quarter to half mile. The blue areas are for bigger community parks that service more of the area. And what we found is, and it's a little hard to see on here, but this kind of black outline is the corporate limits of the town. All areas were very well covered. In some cases, especially on the north and northwestern part, there's a lot of density of parks. So one of the things we looked at is there a need for more actual park acreage, or do we concentrate on other things? And I think what this analysis, at least in part, showed us is that it's really, I think, about concentrating on the growth and using the existing amenities. Because as we go through at the level of service, we project increasing by a lot in the next 5 to 10 years. So the state statute asks us to look at this as a 10-year time frame. But what we see here is over the next so many years, by 2025, the number of homes will increase from approximately 7,800 where it is now to 900, 9,200, almost 9,300. As you play that out over 10 years, it'll keep increasing to 10,000, and it's over 12,000 by 2033, which is a big part of the basis for our needs assessment. And what we see in all this is the town population is going to keep growing, the support center is going to keep going up, the community needs assessment for that community center sort of confirmed this, and the center costs were integrated into that impact fee. This slide just sort of, I know it's hard to read for those in the audience, and we don't want to go through every line of it, but essentially it kind of shows what we're talking about is that as the population increases and you don't increase your amenities or acreage, what you'll see is each and every one of these amenities will be used by more people per facility. So the amphitheater, it's going to go up the same as every other. I don't know if you need another amphitheater based on these amenities, but when you look at like parks, it goes from 930 some odd people up to 1,200 people per play equipment. And so those are the impacts that we really started to see as the town continues to grow. What we're going to see is these increases and really kind of stresses on the existing park equipment. So a lot of what we recommended is that the level of service needs to increase, but it needs to be done through continuing to improve the existing parks and make sure that there's enough facilities and amenities for all the new people to enjoy and also the existing population so that they don't lose their level of service that they're accustomed to, essentially. And so I already did this slide. So what the park impact fee does is allows a way to charge that one-time fee, especially based on that new level of service as we see it coming in demand on existing facilities. The total recommended impact fee is determined by a calculation. We'll get into that in a little bit. And the town council may adopt a lower fee, just so everyone knows, if they don't necessarily think that the number that we've provided is accurate. Ours is based on kind of a mathematical analysis. If they want to ask for a lower fee or lower that, they're permitted to do so. The one thing they cannot do is raise it higher, because the data shows us what that number is. So that's how we got to that. And then they will pass it via ordinance. So that's after we go through the zone impact fee, that key deliverable, we come up with that fee, we go through this formal review process, and that's kind of where we're at now. The impact fee calculation, it's not really laid out in the state statute specifically. It doesn't say here's the formula. It sort of just says you're supposed to make a reasonable estimate based on the impacts that you're seeing and what that fee should be. So what we did is look at the level of services and really focused on that population growth. Wanted to make sure we were in compliance with this, the state statute, existing level of service and future level of service. We went through a significant amount of data crunching to get here. The table I showed earlier was just one piece of that. We compared it to national metrics for all parks for similar sized jurisdictions across the country. And then again, it mentions that the town council can go ahead and choose to pick a lower rate if they want to. So what that fee calculation looks like, in the plan that was distributed, there's essentially every park and all the capital improvements that we saw were all added up. We had one of our landscape architects go through and provide those cost estimates for us based on what the parks department has been doing over the years, and then our re-inventory of it. And it came up to about $21.5 million worth of total capital improvements. And I do want to clarify that the park impact fee can only pay for capital improvements. It can't be used to like subsidize staff salaries, operating costs, anything like that. It has to be used for physical improvements to the system. The state statute does require that you back out any known funding that's being applied for. So the second line there, minus non-local revenues, there's an existing grant that's out there that's already paying for some facilities, but there is another payment anticipated in the next 5 years, so we backed that out. And then also we backed out the approximate 3.2 million that's already budgeted for capital improvements over the next 5 years by the Parks Department and Town Council. And so we got to that, you get a new kind of subtotal and divide it by the projected houses, and there's a slight typo on this slide. It's really 5,252 homes are being projected over the next 10 years. State statute says that you should project this over a 10-year period, not 5, just to go beyond that 5-year period. So we think that based on what we've seen in permit data and just growth trends over the last 20 years, that's an approximate number of new homes that could be here by 2033. So you take that revised subtotal to the 21.5 minus 250 and 3 million, and divide that by the 5,252, and you get that 3,423 per unit fee. It's approximately double what it currently is at 1,750, and really that's the result of adding the community center into it. That line item is about what it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio of why it increased that much. So if it was not for that one line item, it probably would have been pretty close to where the current fee is at.
Okay.
And so that's how we got there. So here we are at the projected schedule. All the items completed is what we've already done through creating the zone impact analysis, doing the inventory. All the items I mentioned earlier. We are now trip 2, which is in progress. Tonight, as a matter of fact, we're here presenting to the Impact Fee Advisory Committee, and now here having the public hearing in front of the Plan Commission. As we work through the process, we're looking to move this through the end of the month, and that's strictly because the current ordinance would expire at the end of July, and so we want to do our best as we can to make sure that there's no gap in coverage, so to speak, of that permit fee. And so with that, I think that's really the end of the formal presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has.
No, I think you answered my question.
I don't have any right now.
Mr. Chair, this is scheduled for public hearings tonight.
Yep.
I use that term to include a hearing both on the consideration of the Park Impact Fee Zone Improvement Plan. So that's one item, and I think that should be separately heard. And also, in addition to that, there will be a hearing on the consideration of the adoption of the Park Impact Fee Ordinance itself.
Okay.
So I would recommend, Mr. Chair, that you actually open and close 2 separate hearings to address both of those items.
Okay. So, Matt, if you want to sit down,
Yep, absolutely.
So I want to open up the comprehensive plan, improvement plan for the Park Impact Fee Zone Improvement. Anybody in the audience want to make a public comment? Again, anybody want to make a public comment regarding the Park Impact Zoning Improvement Plan? Last time, anybody want to make a public comment on the improvement plan for the park and impact fee? I'm going to close hearing none, I'm going to close the comprehensive plan for the impact. Want to open up public comment to Park Impact Fee Ordinance. Anybody want to speak on that? Again, anybody want to speak about the Impact Fee Ordinance? Hearing none. Impact Fee Ordinance is closed. Matt, if you want to come back up. Anybody questions? Jenna? Joe?
I have a lot of questions, but I.
Fire ahead.
No, as far as I have to go through this.
Oh,
if
okay.
you don't mind, so
Sure.
I couldn't quite,
Gonna do it right tonight.
couldn't do it
Okay.
right now, but I appreciate your work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have none, so appreciate it and all the time and effort you put into this and,
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
okay.
No, we really enjoyed being here in St. John, working on this project, working
Yeah.
with the park staff and city staff. It's been a great effort, so.
No, we definitely need more improvements, you know, to the bike paths and community center. That's been brought up a number of times and improvement to the parks. And I know Dyer, seems like every year they're doing something in improving their parks, so. Seemed like the last 3 or 4 years that I know of, so,
That amenities definitely needed around
Yeah.
there. This.
okay. Thanks, Matt, for
Thank
coming
you
up.
very much.
Yep. I'm gonna pass the gavel back to Mr. Kennedy, Mr. President.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, 6C, old new business. We got Martin's Commercial Edition proposed amendment to building elevation, creating a two-tone all-brick building at 10845 Popular Place, St. John. Mr. Brandt, good evening, sir. Name and
Good evening.
organization for the record, please.
My name is Jeff Brandt. My address is 5201 Fountain Drive, Crown Point, Indiana. I'm with the development company Brandt Construction. And I'm here tonight to ask for a elevation change on the new facility we're building at 10845 Parish Avenue. And what we're doing is that we're trying to remove more of the fiberboard and do all brick, but still we have material there that will meet your requirements for your exterior.
I have a question for you. The trim, the very top trim looks like a molded trim where the vertical surface meets the roof. And it says pre-finished sheet metal cap.
Well, that's the cap from the roof over
Okay.
the top. And then below that, we're going to put a fiber cement board trim above that.
Okay.
It's not going to be Dryvit or stucco.
Have you thought about like a stone, a limestone or?
Well, not above, but, I mean, we could definitely do that. I mean, I had to change the whole design to do the brick
The
all the way to
brick,
the top.
okay.
But we just felt brick was a far better product that would last the test of time.
Yeah. No, and I hey, tip my hat off for you when you, to do that. I thought maybe you'd take it a step further and put a limestone trim around. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you.
So did this increase your cost for going to brick?
Yes,
Okay. That's what I like to hear.
about $40,000.
At 3%, that's great for the revenue of the town, so I appreciate that. John, any questions, concerns that you saw? I don't know if you reviewed it. Okay, I know
No.
we're going from a hardy board to a brick, which is,
Yeah, it was more architectural, so we
okay,
didn't, nothing to comment on that.
Thank you.
awesome. Any questions or comments from the board?
Nope.
I don't have any.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Martin's Commercial Edition Lot 9, proposed amendment to building elevations, creating a two-tone all-brick building at 10845 Poplar Place.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second it.
I got a second by Joe. Discussion, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Did you survive the rain?
Yes, thank you.
All right,
Just be careful going home tonight. The roads are pretty wet.
all right, thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Yes. Next on the agenda, item 6D, Parish Wood, proposed amendment addressed to Lot 24, correction lot dimensions to Lot 19 and 21, and corrected distance from the southwest corner of the subdivision to the intersection of west line of the southwest corner of the northwest quadrant of section, wow, I jumped right into this, 1024-9, and the center line of 112th Place. So I'm going to make this word wrong. This is a scribbler issue?
Scrivener.
Scribner. Scribbler.
Scribbler.
Come on, I tried.
I never heard that
tried.
term, Scribner.
Scribner issue. So nothing changes physically.
No, nothing is changing with the lot size. It was basically their little point of measurement was not brought all the way over onto the line. And they noticed it when we also noticed that the current lot that's there with that White House that's already built that faces Parish.
Yeah.
The final plat was recorded with an Atherton address rather than the 11115 Parish. So that was the first error that was caught, and then when the surveyors started looking at it again, they realized that their little dot wasn't brought all the way over on lots 19 and 21, and same with the measurement for the distance from that southwest corner of the subdivision. So this is that certificate of amendment that, or I'm sorry, certificate of correction that would need to be recorded at county to make those changes.
And for the record, I will read the certificate of correction. Randall S. Peterson of Indiana Professional Land Surveyor for Abermarsh Consulting, Inc. do hereby certify that Abermarsh Consultant, Inc. prepared a final plat for Parish Wood subdivision being recorded on February 7th, 2023 in Plat Book 116, page 83, as document number 2023-004884 in Lake County's Recorder's Office. 1, there is a house on Lot 24, the existing prior to the creation of that, probably the existed prior to the creation of Parish Woods. An address was assigned to Lot 24, which was different than the existing address. The address for Lot 24 is to be 11115 Parish Avenue. 2, the following lot dimensions are to be corrected. Affected Lot 19, incorrect dimension is 161.21, correct dimension is 167.46. Affected Lot 21, incorrect dimension 66.21, correct dimension 72.46. 3, the distance from the southwest corner of the subdivision to the intersection of the west line of the southwest quadrant of the northwest quadrant of section 10-34-9 and the center line of 112th Place should be corrected from 228.76 to 229.67. I affirm under penalties of perjury that I have taken reasonable care to redact each social security number in this document unless required by law. Given under my hand and seal in Valparaiso, Indiana, on the 26th day of June 2023, Randall S. Peterson, Abermarsh. So it's just numerical
Yeah.
updates. All
And
right,
I think the address thing was, if that house was ever, if I remember right, if that house was ever torn down, the address would go to the other street, not to Parish. But, yeah, okay.
all right. So we need a motion to approve the amended lots, or the amended,
Mr. Kennedy,
Yep.
was this paper supposed to be signed? I mean, as an auditor, I kind of look at things like, it's a previous life. Was
Do
it
we have
signed?
a
It
signed
will be
document?
Will be-
signed once it goes to county to be recorded. It will have to
Oh,
be signed.
Randall will sign it there.
Yes.
Okay.
And we'll get a copy of the recorded copy once it's recorded at county.
Right. That makes- Thank you.
Good catch.
Motion to approve proposed amended address to Lot 24, and are we gonna do it separate or all at once? Adam?
I think you can do them all at once.
Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve amended address to Lot 24 and corrected lot dimensions to lots 19 and 21, and corrected distances from the south, and and corrected distance from the southwest corner of the subdivision to the intersection of the west line of the southwest quarter, the northwest quarter of section 1024-9, and the center line of 112th place.
I got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second it.
Got a second by Joe. Discussion? Comments? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 4-0. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. Anybody? Public comment? Going once, going twice. Public comment closed. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion.
Second it.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.